something else music. Welcome to the first ever Something Else Music. And we're not going to be talking around or about what's next for music. Instead, we're going to talk to someone about music. It's Leumas.
How's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you?
That was better than the first attempt we've done.
It was. This is probably attempt 5?
It's not.
1,000. So what I want to do is, rather than talk about what's next for music, like you've listened to the tellies and movies once, I was like, what is next? You know, the process of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because we could talk about music all day. So what I thought we would do is start off with a few basics. So my name is Ben. What is your name, Leumas?
My name is Sam.
Okay, would you like to go via Sam or Leumas?
Whatever.
Just for the show.
Whatever.
We'll go for Leumas.
Okay.
Because that is your name. It's Leumas! So, oh, hang on. You won't hear this now, but in the recording it's going to be amazing. It's Leumas! God, I love that effect. Hopefully it worked. Anyway, so tell me about yourself. In the aspect of how did you get into music? So, how did it impact you initially? Where did it all start for Leumas?
So, from a young age, really, I would say most of my musical influence was from people like yourself and from the family that we was in, kind of. It's a very, broad taste of music, different genres.
You look at me and my sisters.
I mean, you only have to turn up to one of the family parties that we used to have.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they were something.
So, So, from that, really, and then it was only, probably around the time I was, becoming a teenager kind of thing. That I found my own kind of styles and stuff and own genres that I liked. That kind of thing.
So, because I remember going through secondary school, and that's when I really found, just like yourself, not what you are, but who you are regarding music.
Yeah.
So would you say you fell into that category where you listened to stuff just because people were listening to it?
Yeah, but I would say not because of school, because of more like the family music. I would listen to that because that's what I've grown up with, kind of thing. And it was school. I did the opposite kind of thing. In school, I would try and find my own music.
Okay.
And then I was just a lucky thing. I happened to find a small group of people that did like the music that I would start listening to, kind of thing.
Yeah. See, because I remember for me, I went to school in Aston. And I think even at an early age, I knew I was into rock. Yeah. Just because if my dad wasn't playing reggae or Motown, he had rock on, like Led Zeppelin, that sort of thing. And I always found with me, going through school, it was that I can't listen to that because I'll be outcasted. And I think it was in about year 8, year 9, I thought, you know what, fuck them. And I just went, I think it was the early days of shaving my head when I had hair. But I think it's nice when you kind of have that epiphany, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what, I'm actually all right with what I listen to. I'm fine with that. All right, then. Let me see. So, who inspired you, I guess, originally at the start, and who inspires you now?
At the start, I don't think I can categorize single it down to one artist or one genre kind of thing. I think that whole process of finding your own style of music was what made me want to do music. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then that kind of thing, and then obviously I've spoke about Peep as my as
I actually know who he is,
kind of thing.
So I remember for me, it was, now this is going to sound really bad because we're in 2021, Snowflake capital. But it was, I remember sitting at home and I think it was on, it was some Alibi channel, some crap channel on BBC 2, Top of the Pops 2 was on. So it's when it shows you previous ones. And I remember sitting there and my dad was talking to my uncle who had just come round, I think he had car trouble. And I was sitting there on the sofa and I was like, what is that sound and where is it? Why can't I have this? And it was Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child.
Yeah.
And it's going to sound really bad, but predominantly all the artists I've listened to were white. So when I turned around and saw an afro, I was like, wow, this dude is awesome. He had the looks and everything, but it was the feedback he made with that guitar. That I think that zoned me into, I want that sound.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. But like you said, what was it about Lil Peep, that draw you to him?
I think that he's very raw with Peep's music. If you listen to it, it's not. I've heard you talked about Little Pump and stuff before, and Trippie Redd and those kind of guys. Like, that's
You know what they look like? Melted Haribo.
yeah. So, like, unfortunately, they get put in the same category as Little Peep, but I feel like Peep was like, he made that kind of culture like happen, kind of thing.
Okay.
So like, that all started because of him, like the whole emo rap and everything.
Yeah.
That became because of him, and he's got like his vocals are very different. Like, they're raw. They're like, he's actually singing, and there's not a lot that happens to his vocals. There's no like auto tune and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh god.
It's like that. But yeah. So apart from that, it's just very raw. And
would you say, because I've said this a load of times, like when I make music, I want whatever the sound comes out of my amp or my voice is what I want in that song.
Yeah.
I want the rawness of it. Would you say that having a much more raw feel, is raw a word? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of came out with it.
Yeah. Would you say that amplifies the authenticity of it? Like, would you say you could gauge what he felt, his emotions through that, rather than something, let's say, Taylor Swift did? Because of how compressed and commercial it sounds.
I think so, yeah.
Because
I would say so. But not all the time. I don't think that rule could apply to everything.
No. For the viewers and listeners, you might hear Ted. I can hear the keys. Okay, we're good. Okay then. So, let me have a look through my questions in the Pokédex. I'm going to find a good question here.
Go for it, man.
I mean, obviously we've just spoke about your inspirations and people you know that have made you kind of that you're drawn to. Yeah. Is there anyone with what you currently do? Is there anyone you like to work with? Not necessarily an artist, but a producer, a composer, a writer. Is there anyone?
There's a few vocalists that I'd like to work with. Maybe down the line. But they're quite big, so maybe.
Well, you never know.
You never know. Get there, kind of thing.
I mean, we know what happened with Justin Bieber. He still failed. All right then. So, tell the listeners what it is you do regarding your music.
So, solely, is that a word? Solely, yeah.
We're gonna go with it.
We'll go with it now. A producer, so I produce music. All kinds of different genres. I don't like to stick to a specific genre.
Yeah.
That's my main thing. Like, if I had a niche, I reckon that would be it. Like, I don't stick to one genre. I'll try and produce whatever comes to mind, like whatever I feel at the time. Yeah. That's what I'll go with and see what comes of it, kind of thing.
Okay, well, to be fair, that leads on to a nice little kind of segue, really, into what is it about the craft you like? Like, with that, in the sense of, because you're on the fly sort of thing, would you say you get inspired quickly and that's when you start your craft, or is it along the lines of you plan it out?
Yeah, it's more of a on the fly kind of thing for me.
Okay. Would you say you work better that way?
Yeah. I feel like once the creativity is there, you can do more. And once you're in that frame of mind, you can just put out more music.
I remember when it was the last band I was in, and you know, coming up towards the end of it, it was a case of, like, I'm very much like you. I just have that spark, and I'm like, that's what we need.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And I remember I actually tried to write something that the band would write, and I just couldn't do it. I eventually wrote something, but did I like it? Hell no. So, obviously, you do producing and everything, and I watch a lot of people on YouTube. Glenn Fricker, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
Like, he's just awesome, and he's Canadian, and he swears a lot. But my question I want to ask you is, are you ever satisfied with a product? So, like, for instance, you could just produce, say if you produce something for, I don't know, someone's come in and said, I want this done, and they're like, that sounds mint, and you give them a copy.
Yeah.
Or you give them whatever they need. Would you still work on that after? Or are you happy whatever you've made?
So, in the sense of all the music that I've released up until this point, I would say that I haven't been 100% happy with any of it.
Why?
Because there's always something, with producing and stuff, there's always something after you'll listen to it again and you'll be like, I could have added this, or I could have done this, or when it comes to mixing and mastering, not the mix essentially. I'm happy with the mix, but when it comes to mastering, I could be like, yeah, I could have left a bit of the low end in there more, or just like.
So you're a tinkerer.
Yeah,
is that a word?
Pretty much.
All right then. Du-du-du-du-du. So we've asked anyone you want to work with. So this is one I just had to ask. Whenever I record or make something, when I have that spark, I generally have I call it my totem.
Yeah.
So I always wear a blue cardigan.
Okay.
Sometimes I might wear pants with it. I don't know. Depends how I feel. Do you have anything like a good luck charm that you have with you? Like I'm always carrying guitar picks in my pocket because I never know.
Yeah. Not really. Nothing
Okay,
really.
okay.
I'd like to say something to make myself sound a bit more like
Have
a little bit of substance, you know.
Siberian tiger.
Nothing really.
Oh, okay.
It's all very like.
All right, then. Do you have a creature comfort? Like when I'm recording, like you can ask Sam, even ask Ted. He'll probably just say, close the gate or something. But with me, I generally write on 2 guitars. So my acoustic is generally when I'm just warming up, sort of thing, and I'll always create something on there. But out of all my guitars, I've got 2 custom ones, a signature series Epiphone, and I've got my Yamaha Pacifica. Now that guitar isn't expensive. It doesn't even look like it used to, but that is my creative. That is where I go if I need something.
Yeah.
And everything I've ever wrote is on that guitar. Do you have anything at your table or at your desk that you think, I need it? Like, is there a particular cable or anything?
Nothing. But I feel like it's very different because obviously it's very different genres of music. So
Oh, definitely.
a guitar, I feel like you can get more attached to a guitar
Oh, well,
and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas, as long as I've got the software that I use to produce, and I use a software called Splice. It's not software; it's a company, and I get a lot of samples from there. So I'll get my drums and stuff from
so
there.
would you say you'd be more hesitant to go to a different company for samples?
Yeah, I would probably always stick with Splice, to be honest.
Well, and in one of the many more to come, something else is we're doing about brand
Yeah.
and loyalty, but we'll get onto that.
So if you're listening, Splice, if you can sponsor me, that'd be great.
Sponsor this guy. All right then. So what I'll do is move on to another question. So obviously we've been in a pandemic for the past over a year now.
Yep.
How do you think music, not just in the genre or category you make, but in general, how do you think music has been affected?
In general, I think it's been affected quite badly, as in the sense of people that play music live and people that sell tickets for venues and stuff, and even the people that promote the music and stuff like that.
Oh God, yeah.
Then it's had a pretty negative effect, I would say.
Well, just jumping in there, me and my new band, Education After Mockery, we literally, I was looking at the last time we rehearsed, and it was the 8th of October.
Crazy.
That was the last time we rehearsed. I mean, that's not that far away.
Yeah.
But we got to the point where, I mean, we've got a set list essentially, but we got to the point where we was like, we can actually play this live, and everything went to pot again.
It's always the way, isn't it?
So, how about, because we spoke about this briefly before, you know me, and I like music to be very authentic.
Yeah.
If you want a drummer, get a drummer. If you want a guitar sound, get a guitarist. With lockdown, that just went out the pan because you couldn't. But what I found, I mean, that sea shanty, I've gone to Sean Connery. The sea shanty went bloody viral, didn't he?
Yeah.
That Scots lad, I can't understand a word he says when he talks, but when he sings, I'm on your level. But I found stuff like, obviously with TikTok and Instagram, all the other crappy things, would you say they have helped promote more people to find talent they didn't know they had? In music?
It's a tricky one when it comes to like TikTok and other social media platforms.
I don't use TikTok.
I feel like music gets known for the wrong reasons. Like through certain platforms like TikTok will go viral because of the video it's associated with, not necessarily the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that a lot.
So then that will get put out, and then the song will be known. But is there that much talent? Yeah, it might be a catchy tune, but so it's one of them.
So moving on from that, obviously lockdowns really affected live music, not just for bands, but for everyone. I mean, throwing a curveball, this jumped into my head. What about DMX?
Oh no, yeah, man, crazy.
I read that and I cried.
I don't
Because
blame you.
going through my childhood, my best mate Robert, who's constantly spoken about on this show, or just anyway, in through something else, that was one of the first artists, apart from like Tupac and Biggie, but that was one of the first artists I ever listened to, and I was like, I like what he's doing.
I remember when you used to play that in the. I think it was in Tracy's car on the
we
way
had
to
the
cry.
2 songs. Yeah. On the way to cry, going stop, drop, and just like randomly barking at people. Oh. Oh my god, them were the days. But yes, I just thought that really threw me. That did. But getting back to lockdown, obviously live venues are closed. But what I found, there's a guy I follow on YouTube called Davidos.
Yep.
You heard of him? He's
The name sounds
from
familiar.
Lithuania. He's a killer guitarist. But what he does live looping.
And he's got the beard.
If you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Looks like got a bit of noodle on his chin.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that to his face though, because he's big.
Yeah, I can't even grow a beard, so.
Believe it or not, I walked out with this. When I was born, that was. That's gross. Let's move on from that. So, what I was getting at, rather, was... I like social media, but what I've noticed, because I do Twitch streams... Hey, I haven't done one in a while. But I've seen a lot of people do... like live streams through lockdown. That's what I was getting at with Davidos.
Yeah.
So what he did was he would live stream every night until lockdown had ended. Like because he lives in America, and he did, and he would he would get requests, say do this song, and he would loop it. He would do the drums, the bass, you name it, he did it. And what I've noticed, and this is what I was getting at before with hidden talent, was the amount of people that are now doing that. I can't do crap all on a laptop or computer like you do with your I saw what you did the other day, and it's just like channel after channel.
Yeah.
I look at mine. I've just got a copied and paste drum loop. That's it. I can't do any of that, and I think it kind of made me admire more what people are doing.
Yeah. I feel like there's a misconception when it comes to music production. I feel like people just think that people drag things over and then that's it. The tune's finished.
I was very... I mean, I guess being a musician, you have more of an understanding of how it works, but I still always thought that it was just someone with a little synth pad just going, just tapping. It's not. You still have to, just like you do with a real band. You can, like you showed me the other day with the getting the low end of a bass drum. I would never have done that. I would have said, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
Just like that Drip Feed song I was playing, the kick drum's gone. All because I'm playing some dirty ass bass.
Yeah.
But it does get lost in the mix, and I think what people forget is just because it's on a computer doesn't mean it's already done.
Yeah.
It's a sample, just like if I was to input my guitar to one of your channels, that is a sample. Essentially, yes, I'm playing it, but
I feel like on a computer is, if not more, to mix and EQ and master than, because there's so many different varying sounds and different varieties you can choose from and
I think if you used to do it properly, like when we used to record in the band, we would clean. Yeah, we'd do a clean record. So when we did all the songs we ever did, like on YouTube or SoundCloud, they were recorded with a clean guitar, which is really bloody difficult when you think about it, because we played a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And a lot of my stuff revolved around feedback, fuzz, all that stuff. So when you haven't got it, it's like...
And then you have to make it again after to sound...
And like my bassist would never let me play through the amp because it was noisy, it was dirty, like it's not even in here anymore. But there was never a clean sound. Even on clean, there was always like a... that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, that's what I was getting at. Sorry, like, I think... not just myself, but seeing a lot more people now do streams or just getting into music in general, I think I've grown more of an appreciation to it.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you do guitaring, keyboard, everything, really. And I think it was weird for a guitar lover to see someone transition into that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I can see the craft, I'm like, you know what? Mint. Which, moving on, how do you think the music scene will carry on after lockdown? Because I was talking to... because we have a lockup now. Just want to throw that out there. By that, I don't mean we lock up people. That's a different story.
Not yet.
But the venue that I rehearse at, I keep knocking my microphone lead. The venue I rehearse at, I was talking to the owner, and we was talking about like how his business was affected, essentially. And he went from, like, bear in mind, I won't do names because I want to do a shout out for him, Rabanas. But he had like Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, Napalm Death, Jameel, he had the Pussycat Dolls. He's had so many famous people there. And he was getting like, 120, 140 people rehearsing a week. Then lockdown happened, he went to 20. Now there's no one. Apart from having people rehearse, he would do producing and recording, mixing, whatever it is. And then he would rent gear out, like stage gear, lighting, that sort of thing. So it's quite scary when you see what lockdown's done, and it's how is the music scene going to recover? Because he raised a good point. I want to throw this to you. I mean, have you ever played live?
No, not really.
So
and I feel like I wouldn't as well. Just while we're on the subject, like there's a lot of people that produce, like, and they go into DJing and stuff. But I feel like I wouldn't do that because there's a craft for DJing. Like you got people like Cole Cox and stuff that they've made an art out of it. You know, like mixing songs together live, and they do it there and then, and it's crazy what they do. Manipulate a song to the way you've never heard it before. But then you've also got people that don't actually do it, but they produce, and then they just get on stage and they'll press play. Yeah. So I wouldn't get involved in that side of things out of respect for the people that do it as a like a craft. You know what I mean?
So I guess it's kind of like me not wanting to do covers because I don't want to ruin what they've done.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
I understand that. But the thing that Rob was saying was, why would a sound engineer want to go back to music or to live venues when he can have a steady 9 till 5 job and have the weekends off?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, that is a horrible, but very valid thing to say. And it wasn't until then I was like, you know what, that is horrifying, because I'm really confident that music's going to bounce back because venues just want them. People want to go out. Like, I don't really care about going to the pub.
Yeah.
Like, throughout lockdown, I've not wanted... I mean, yeah, I've been having a couple of drinks here and there because I've been doing streams and quiz nights and stuff. But I've never really bothered. Like, the thoughts never really gone in my head, I can't wait to go to the pub, but mine's I can't wait to go to a gig, whether it's playing or seeing one. And I think it was when he said that, I was like, you know what, he might be right. And it was like, how do you feel music's going to recover if it does after lockdown?
I feel like that is a very valid point, to be fair. But then I feel like maybe it will have a little bit of a positive effect, as in maybe it will filter out the people that weren't truly happy doing it and the people that will stay at it because it's a passion of theirs, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's scary because it's like we've never lived through anything like this.
Yeah.
Like the last time was, 101 years ago or something like that? And obviously they didn't have half of the stuff we've got now. It's getting very windy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Just a little bit.
Right at the crack. The crack of the door. And my bum. And yeah, I think it's when you actually weigh up the things like the pros and cons, it's like, oh, this could be worse than we thought. But I'm still pretty confident, to be fair. Let me see. So, I've seen how you work, I've heard what you produce, and it's phenomenal, to say the least. Again, it's not my kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'll listen to it, but I wouldn't jump out if it was in, like, HMV, if that's still around.
Yeah.
But it's just nice because you can hear, literally, like, I've said it before, like, you've got a very distinct sound. Hang on one sec. Sorry, I've got a really shit lead, and I keep knocking it so it's spiking. So what I was getting at was, when I listen to lots of other similar genres, they all sound the same.
Yeah.
You know, not commercial, but there's a sound, and I just can't listen to it. But with yours, there's such, dare I say, depth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually hear, like, obviously you get vocals from other people, but you kind of make their... What I'm trying to get is, a lot of the time, the vocals are empty.
Yeah.
You know, they can be singing about heartbreak and all this, but it's empty. I don't feel it, but with the way you mix it, you can feel it. Like, we did a track, which I'll probably throw in here in a minute. What was it called? Peaches Creek?
Yeah, Peaches Creek.
And literally, all because I was doing the first ever podcast, which was about children's cartoon theories. And you thought that was just mental. And he was like, that'll make a good song.
Yeah.
So I turned it into a song. And it was really weird how all we did was a couple of messages over, like, oh, it needs, like, violins, or it needs this, it needs that. And next thing you know, you made it. And I was like, it was really cool how you got that vibe of...
That we was on the same page with it, kind of thing, from the start.
And I think... I mean, obviously I don't know how you interact with the people you work with, but it sounds like, just from our experience, that you really do know what they want, which is a really nice thing to see.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time it's, well, I'll do this, and the artist is like, no. Yeah. You know what I mean? I've had that before. It's a bloody nightmare. But, so moving on from that with how you can get the craft going, like how you have a different sort of sound, is there anything you could give advice-wise to upcoming artists, producers, anything really? Is there any advice you'd give?
Don't rush to find your own sound. You know what I mean? Like, don't rush that whole process to find something that you think other people will sound good. Find what you think sounds good.
Yeah.
And then base yourself around that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that a couple of times. Like, I think it was with... What was that song I did? Sun Has Gone. Bam.
Yeah.
Bam, bam. If you listen to that, I actually cocked up after the first chorus. Like, I completely... There's a part where it goes... I went a bar too much. And I just had to go with it. Funny enough, that song, Just For You, not Just For Him. It's the title. Weird. But in that one, there's a part where it goes... ding, 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 ding. And I've done that... It's 4/4 essentially, but on the one, I did it 5. I was like...
That's it, man.
Crap! But I've left it in, and it kind of fits. But yeah, I definitely agree with don't rush. I mean, here's a question. I've not wrote this down. I mean, you can see that it ends with what's next for you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to close that now.
Okay.
I'm going to go on some curveball questions. So, in the music community, don't worry. No one's going to walk in with the trousers down. Anyway, this is something I always see, and it's predominantly since I've started taking interest through Glenn Fricker with producing and everything.
Okay.
And it's all about gear. Now, I don't use very expensive gear. I think the most expensive thing I have is my SG, which costs just over 700 quid. I don't even use it to record. So my question to you is gear important? I.e. the price of gear. Like, should I, if I wanted to get into do what you're doing?
Okay.
I mean, I think we've got the same program to mix on.
Yeah.
Would you say going out and buying, I don't know, I'll tell you what, tell us what gear you use. Not in the sense of names, but like a keyboard, a mixing desk, whatever.
Okay, so my approach to this is the keyboard that you use. I use a MIDI keyboard, of course. Doesn't matter what it is, just get one. It just makes your life easier. Learn to play the keyboard as well.
That would help.
Like, you can do it without. You can just like feel around and get a sound if you make, depending on what you're doing, of course. But learn to play, and music theory is important as well, I would say. Just knowing chord progressions and stuff, and what fits with what and scales and stuff. That does help. Like, I feel that another misconception with music production is that people just press buttons and hope it fits.
Yeah, you don't need to know music.
But you have to know certain things to make everything work together. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, going off that, we'll get back to like the gear and everything. But it's like with Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix. Oh, they couldn't read or write music, and well, they had to learn.
Yeah.
Like with me, I had, I think, 10 lessons in total when I first learned the guitar, and after that, it was just down to me. The only thing I really learned after that was pentatonic scales. Obviously, I'm a blues player. Not that blues is a real thing, but again, that's a different topic, man. I could go on about this all day. But it was
like indie rock. As well.
But it's one of them ones like where indie rock. Now you're just triggering me.
Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page with that one, to be honest.
Because all I'm saying, right, is technically all the stuff I release makes me indie.
Yeah.
But we won't get onto that. What was I getting to? Oh, music theory. So the thing I was getting to was how the hell did Eddie Van Halen like learn that some of his sweet tapping solos were in the right key with a song? First of all, like, how did he do all that sweet picking and stuff? Because he's going to have to have learned it somewhere. And I think that's, for guitarists, I do believe, like, I've noticed with some of my songs, like Drip Feed, for instance, I came up with Drip Feed purely by accident. All because I wanted to, because I play bass now rather than a guitar in the band. I wanted to emulate Motorhead. So I put a bit of distortion on the bass and just wrangled out some notes. And the diddle, that was just because it sounded good, if I'm honest. The solo, it's pentatonic. I couldn't tell you what fucking key it's in. But I would never been able to do that solo if I didn't know the shapes. And just like with producing, you don't have generally like the guitar or you have a keyboard, but there's generally nothing visual to show you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I totally agree there. Like, I'm not saying that theory is needed, but an understanding of how music's
definitely helps.
Constructed.
Yeah.
It's like a funny one. Sam's going to murder me for this, but she doesn't understand why 3/4 is different to 4/4.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not checking to see if she's there. If you see me keep turning, it's because my laptop's over here where my arm's now cut off. and I keep knocking my microphone lead, so every now and then there's a spike, even though I've just said that. But yeah, so run us through your gear.
Yeah, so I use I'll be honest, this is my approach to gear. I don't think it's important depending on what part of the gear we're talking about. So the keyboard, if you asked me what brand it was now, I probably couldn't tell you. It begins with an A.
A keyboard.
Yeah, a keyboard. So I use that. Does the job for me. So it's not really important. It still puts the notes into the software that I use.
Yeah.
And it still records it perfectly, and I've never had a problem.
Mm.
When it comes to the monitors you use, that's when it comes to sound you're hearing from the output. So that's important to me. Same with the audio interface.
Yeah.
So when you was talking about this earlier, Behringer, however you pronounce it.
Behringer.
That's the audio interface I use.
Or Behringer.
But to be fair though, that wasn't expensive. So
can I just say something about Behringer? Now, if you've ever watched any video on YouTube about Behringer, they don't like people saying bad things.
Yeah.
Right? So I've got no quarrel saying what I'm about to say because they're never going to see this really. But I'm a guitarist. I have lots of stomp boxes. For people that don't know what that is, it's a pedal you step on. Now I've got the Behringer UM300, which is the ultra metal pedal. So it's basically distortion. It's fucking gorgeous. It's pink. It's lovely. It's kind of, I don't know why, but it always, when I look at it, it always reminds me of Satchel from Steel Panther. It looks like his pussy mounter, which is a pedal. I just want to clear that up. But here's a funny one. There's two. One of the go-to pedals is Boss, right? Even you know that.
yeah.
Now, here's a funny one. Now, going off ball, right? Behringer and Boss use almost the same components, right? Circuit board's different, but the components, the resistors, capacitors, you name it, it's all the same. The difference is Behringer use plastic housing, whereas Boss use metal. Hence why you could get the metal zone? It's like 80 quid, where the ultra metal's £17.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it does the same thing. It sounds exactly the same. Obviously, if you was to put it through all sorts of readings, it'll come up different. But what I wanted to say was, because this is why I asked about the gear, my pedal board, I tried to get an endorsement from Behringer, but because we weren't famous or didn't get anything, they didn't really want to. But pretty much at one point, all my pedals were Behringer. And I was just like, someone came up, one of the gigs, and was like, that wah pedal is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, it was in the last gig we did, which is right there, my wah pedal. And it's I've used Vox wah pedals, Crybabies, you name it. I've had one before. It's called Dolphin or something like that. It was such a bad pedal. But that is the Behringer Hellbabe 01. It's relatively all digital. So if I want to, in the old days, if you wanted to tweak it, you had to undo screws and literally move things.
Yeah.
With this one, all the dials are on the one side. And I was just like, it's 30 quid. And this dude was like, that's amazing. And that's why I wanted to talk about gear regarding processing. And you have Behringer gear.
Yeah.
And
I've never had a problem really, and it serves the purpose that I need to.
Your interface is exactly the same to my Focus, right? I've got the first generation Solo. And it's a fantastic interface, but it's, I mean, you know what phantom power is.
Yeah.
It's how these microphones are working predominantly for condensers. So what I want to get to you is, because this bothers me, your interface, does it have external power or does it run from USB?
It runs from USB.
How is your phantom power?
Perfect.
Does your microphone work?
Yeah, never had a problem.
See, my Focus right now, I think it's because it's old and just knackered, but every now and then it just doesn't have enough power, so I get like you can hear it through the microphone, so it's just not loud enough essentially, because it's not getting its. I mean, most microphones have a threshold, isn't it? About they can go between something like 27 and say 52 volts or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm going massively off topic. Like, this is how our conversations generally go. I go massively off topic, but I just wanted to emphasise that Behringer, just because I do like Behringer, and people are like, oh, Behringer, how can you produce with that shit?
Yeah, like, I've never had a problem with them. Like, it does the job that I need it to. The only thing that I think is important for what you're trying to do with producing is your studio monitors. And even still now, in the setup that I have right now, is I'm using PreSonus 3.5s, which is essentially like a very budget studio monitor, but the sound that you get from them, you can't fault it. It's amazing. And there's a lot of people on YouTube and across the producing platform, like following, and the people that I follow and stuff, that have used them for years and have never had a problem. And
So I'm going to throw a curveball at you now because I've just thought of it because I only learnt this the other day.
Okay.
Now, when I mix or really listen through what I've recorded, I do three things. I've got my headphones, which are Motorola's Escape 500s, I think. Lovely. They're not very good for mixing because they're bass heavy. So the low end is crazy high. So I like it because I'm practically deaf. Excuse me. Then I use I can't remember what the bloody sound system is, but it's some speaker system I've got in the PC.
Yeah. And
my dad had it, but it's got to be fetching like 20-year-old now. But it's meaty. It's crystal. It does have an EQ on it, but I always turn them right down so I can hear as it is.
So it's neutral kind of thing?
Yeah, which is what I'm going to ask you in a minute. And then I do the car test. So I'll go into my car, whatever I've just recorded, pull it on USB, play it through my car. If it sounds mint in the car, I'm happy. Because I don't have monitors.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I have to keep checking. Why use monitors? What do they do?
So, monitors, that's like the rawest sound. I keep saying rawest, but you know what I mean.
Well, we've gone from rawer to rawest.
Rory. Yeah, anyway, so like, that's the sound, the first initial sound that you get back while you're producing. And so, I like to keep them neutral.
So it's an uncompressed sound, isn't it?
Basically. And then as it comes out, it's like, it's very hard for me to explain.
So would you say it's like having, because I'll just keep using these.
Yeah.
These are very low end heavy. So they're not flat. Like if you ever get a new phone, the worst one was my car I've got now. That stereo, I didn't realise. Like normally you set an EQ and it's for everything.
Yeah.
This one I had to set the EQ for the radio, for AM, FM. Had to set it for the auxiliary. I had to set it for the CD player. I've never encountered that in my life. And what I'm getting at is, would you say monitors give you a flat sound so you can hear whatever you've put in as it is? Because that's what I was trying to basically figure out. Should I buy some?
I think all the sounds, once they're put together, it gives you a clean sound of the mix itself. But I think referencing is still very important. So take it to your car, take it to whatever you use to reference. So I'll use a couple of cars or car stereos, or I'll use headphones, even cheap little wireless Bluetooth earphones, because I'll get a generic sound of how people will hear it, what they're listening on. Like not everyone will listen in their cars on big speakers and stuff like that. For me,
it's like, only listening back to the software about your setup and free monitors, I realised that my vocal, the placement's good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, generally you put reverb or something. I really love delay, just because of my vocal. It suits it. Because I've got quite not muddy sound when I sing, but it's not the clearest voice, not distortion. It's just a bit pipey, if that makes sense.
Well, you mentioned muddy though, so studio monitors will help you. You'll know if you have a muddy mix. And when I say muddy mix, it's when frequencies clash together.
Which is so like what I had.
It's like what I showed you with the kick and the bass, so stop them from mixing together.
So, because this is what I was going to get at, like, I'll just call it sound placement, so panning and all that.
Yeah.
My vocals generally sit nice, but I always have a problem with the volume of it. So like I said, I've got it on 2 different speakers. I go to the car, go in my headphones, and it always sounds mint. But when I heard it on your monitors, I was like, oh, that's not EQ'd very well. Like, it sounded like... It literally sounded like karaoke. There's a backing track and then someone sang over it.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
There's another misconception with that, though, as well. Like, a psychological thing. I don't know, maybe you'll be the one to look into it more. Kind of thing. You love stuff like this. So, like, when something sounds bad to us, we'll make it louder.
Yeah.
That's the general rule.
And it's... Like, I'm deaf pretty much in my right ear. But I've probably got, like, 30% hearing. I can't hear frequencies. Like if you used to put someone wailing on a guitar right there, I'd like can't hear it.
Yeah.
As soon as I turn my head, I'll be on the floor crying because it's too loud. But it was what I found was, I mean, I could play loads of them, but when I was doing the vocals to drip feed, I just couldn't find it. Like I liked how I delivered it, but there was parts I'm like, oh, you know, when I had it limited and everything, so everything was the same volume. If that's how you do it, I can never remember. But I just found, like, I was hiring stuff up for the sake of hiring it up. And it was like, if you look at, like, all the channel levels, they're all, like, going all over the shop. And I'm like, that's why it sounds shit. Nothing was level in that sense.
Yeah.
Oh, it was annoying. Very annoying. So would you definitely say, going back onto the gear aspect, it's not necessarily Would you say it's that classic? It's not the tools; it's how you use it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is how it's
Yeah.
essentially it's how you use what you've got. You can have the worst equipment in the world, but if you use it in a way where you're learning from it, like with referencing, if you're using the cheapest set of wireless headphones, and then
I guess it's because you got to cater for what everyone's listening through.
yeah, like Drake's producer. I know this is a bit off topic. Drake's producer, he.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant Drake's producer, as in he's a producer. Isn't he?
Uh,
Or are you on about the guy that does his
yeah,
stuff?
look, the guy that actually produces most of his music and his albums and stuff. I forget his name, but you'll be able to find it. He produces with the set objective of making it sound good if people listen to it on less spec stuff. Like,
Oh, okay, because then, so would you say, just saying that, if you produce with the aim, it's going to sound good on inferior product, would
Yeah.
you say it would then sound better on higher product?
I feel like you'll lose stuff in certain frequencies. So if you produced it with the idea of people are going to listen to this on the best, most expensive studio monitors, then you can afford to go further with it with like the low end and stuff.
Okay.
And then if people look like Drake's producer, I saw a post and it was like he's producing for people that are going to listen on laptop speakers, for example.
Okay.
So it'll sound a clean mix on a laptop speaker. So the first time you initially hear it, psychologically you'll think, yeah, this is a good song.
Yeah.
Because of the levels you're hearing and stuff. So in that aspect, I think in a general rule of thumb, keep it what you're comfy with, really.
Yeah.
So what you're comfy with producing with. So obviously, I'll in the mastering side, I'll never have the high end too high.
Yeah.
Because I know that most speakers or whatever people will listen on, they won't
you
get the most out of it. So there's not much point. You know what I mean?
Because just speaking about that, then like talking about recording for like cheaper spec things. Kurt Cobain, he was notorious for playing really, really cheap guitars.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, coming up towards the late years, he started using Fender Jags, which are beautiful. But he was always using cheap guitars, and it's not because he could destroy it. You know, his object wasn't to destroy them; it was the sound it made. He was like, they just have a sound.
Yeah.
And I've had it before. There's a guitar body there. I'm going to butcher this. A Tesco or Tesco. I'm just going to say Tesco because that's how everyone says it on the internet, but I'm going to pronounce it Tesco.
Okay.
It's a Japanese brand, like back in the day, like they had crazy body shapes and they used foil back pickups, which I don't like the sound of, but when you hear it in a mix, you're like, whoa. But it was a cheap pickup. Whereas you can, like, there's a company I use, Iron Gear UK, they make guitar pickups, and they've got something called a hammerhead. Now, that is a bastard of a pickup. Like, it's so, like, if you like shredding, fucking hell, it's like the low end's alright, but the high end, the output anyway.
Yeah.
And it's 30 quid. But if you went to, like, say, I use Seymour Duncan, now they are, oh god, I've had some Seymour Duncans. He makes some great pickups, but you can hear it. But at the same time, I really loved the pickup. I had the hammerhead, and it was just baffling. Like, I've gone through it all my life. Like, do I really need, like, this expensive gear? Like, these headphones I've got, they cost 50 quid. Whereas the headphones I had before that I got from Aldi for £25.
They're actually more expensive than the headphones that I use in the studio.
And then again, I don't have them anymore. There were a couple of, I think there were JVC in-ears,
Yeah.
like earbuds. I can't use earbuds, they mess me up. But they were the best headphones I ever had. And it was just because they gave me, even on different EQs, like everyone knows your phone EQ is shit. Because everyone has it on rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it gave me the cleanest sound. Like, I could hear all the highs but feel the low. And if you ever listened to, what's the song? Overkill by Motorhead. That starts straight away with the animal going mental on the drums. Not from the Muppets, but his name was the animal. His name's Phil Taylor, not like the dart player. But it was crazy. Like, I can still hear the clarity of them earphones, and I've never found anything like it.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I've found close is the system inside my house. These earphones, like I said, probably one of the best headphones that fit my head. But they've got noise cancellation. Going on to this, because I was doing this earlier, like recording. Not earlier, I mean like a couple of months ago. They've got noise cancellation on, so you flick it on, it adjusts frequencies. Would you say that's useful in mixing? Because I found, for me, whether it's just down to my hearing, but it really helped me isolate like lead guitar because it kind of upped the higher frequencies. Would you say noise cancellation's good in mixing, or have you never tried?
People have So people have a preference. You have like open ear, closed ear headphones.
Yeah.
When we're talking about like noise cancellation and stuff, that's like a bit different thing. But I prefer closed ear earphones with headphones, even with nothing else on. Like, I feel like the more raw sound, again, that word raw.
Raw.
But
like this podcast is going to be raw.
The most neutral I can keep the sound, the better it is for me.
Yeah.
So like with nothing affecting it, you know what I mean?
Mm. I mean, it's just weird, like, because it is always the same thing. Like, believe it or not, we're actually doing this podcast in a garage. But it's like, I'm literally looking around at some of the stuff I've got. Like, my bike, I think it's just an Apollo bicycle. And a lot of elitists who are like, oh, it's a cheap bike. And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I haven't finished fixing it for a start. But it's a solid bike, you know what I mean? My guitars, for the best part of, I mean, how long have I been gigging for now? Holy crap. I joined my first band almost 10 years ago.
Today, as in to this date?
Yeah.
Wow.
No. What month are we in?
Hey.
In November, I would have joined my first band.
You made that sound so close, and you've gone from April to November now.
I know, yeah.
Never mind.
It's like lockdown time frame. Yeah, but what I was getting at, sorry, was the first guitar, I said this earlier, my Yamaha Pacifica, that's the only guitar I ever had. And it's, for nerds, you might understand this, it's SSH, single humbucker pickup. So essentially there's one magnet in the top, one in the middle, and then there's a double at the end by the bridge. Now that guitar, like I said, it's my go-to, it's my baby. It needs to be repaired so bad, but it still works. And I used that for ages, and when we started recording, sending stuff over, our bassist, Jim, he was like, oh, what guitar are you using? And I was like, Yamaha Pacifica. He was like, fuck off. It's like, I am. And it was just because it's very much that thing. I'm going off topic again, but basically, I was like, the guitar, I think it was an X model one. An X demo, sorry. So someone's already used it, and I remember my dad getting it for me. And it cost 140 quid. And it's the best guitar I've ever played. Now, I remember it was when you went to, was it, I can't remember what the college was. You did music in college and you had to go and buy a guitar. And we were sitting in the sound booth, in the soundproof room, sorry. And you had, I don't know if you still got it, but it was a Fender guitar, an acoustic. And I went wandering off after I got shouted at for playing that $4,000 acoustic.
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, and I wandered off and I picked up. Now, Leumas will tell you, that feels weird saying that. He'll tell you, my idol, my holy grail is the Gresh White Falcon.
Yeah.
And I played it.
All $4,000 worth of it.
Yeah.
You reckon it's still the same price now, or it's depreciated?
It's higher for lefties. Even with depreciation, it's still high because they're hollow body guitars, so you have to reverse the molds. But essentially, I played a lefty one, and it was the best thing I've ever played.
Love it.
But it's still not as good as my Yamaha. And I forgot what I was going to say then. I had another point I was going to get at.
I think it comes back to, like, if you like it, use it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, it's a broad
if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, like,
isn't
if it works for you, then just use it, man. Like,
this is one I want to throw at you, because this is massive in guitaring especially, or any instrument that requires like feel, like violin, bass, cello, all that sort of stuff. So there was a thing before, and it was a Slash interview. Now Slash is the guitarist of Guns N' Roses. Is it Velvet Revolver as well? I want to say so. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, don't correct me. So someone said, basically, why don't they sound like Slash? They brought his guitar, his gear, everything, and he's like, it's because you're not Slash. I am Slash. Like, if Slash picked up my guitar, it would sound like Slash is playing my guitar. But if I picked up Slash's guitar, it would sound like I'm playing his guitar.
Yeah.
And I want to throw that kind of, I guess, to what you do. So would you say, and I think I already know the answer to it because it makes sense, but would you say I would, if I used everything you did in the same process as you did, would I sound like you?
I think it would be similar. I feel like that whole process, what you just talked about with people, if someone played the same guitar as you, they would have the same, not sound, but the same sound, but not the same feel. If that makes sense.
So it would sound exactly the same, but you'd know that's not you.
Yeah.
Because I find...
But I wouldn't say exactly the same. I feel like it would have the same patterns to it and the same kind of general idea and the general direction, but it would be two totally different things.
I find there's little nuances that everyone has. Like, when I make a riff for the band, I love my hammer-ons. Like, I don't think anyone can hammer on in the band better than me.
Yeah.
And when I first did, what was the song? I can't remember the song. Thorn. Din, din, diddle, din, din, diddle, din. I actually changed how I played it because they couldn't play it because it was hammer on all the way up. I didn't have. I think you saw it once live, and I didn't pick.
Yeah.
It was just hammer on and hammer on, where everyone else picked because they can't do the hammer ons. And I was like, when I brought there's a song I'm bringing to the band, and I know Bruce will play it exactly the same, but it will sound very different. And I thought, maybe I've done it again. Hit the mic. And I thought maybe that's the same thing for your craft, really. Like, for a noob like me, would I sound like you if I used everything the way you did?
I'd still say no.
I think
with electronic music and music that's produced with software, I feel like you'd be able to replicate it easier than you would with an instrument.
Yeah.
In that kind of aspect.
I guess it's because whatever's there is there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a guitar, I can have 3 guitars, which I do inside, play the same note on every one of them, but it will sound different every time.
Like, I can go and get a sample that, say, Drake's used. I don't know why I keep going back to Drake.
He's a legend. He's got a swift haircut.
But, yeah, so if I could go and get a sample that's Drake's used and do something with it, but it wouldn't sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because I'd still have my own way, and this is the beauty of electronic music. Like, I can change that sample totally so it doesn't even sound like the same thing anymore.
You know what it reminds me of? And we'll all leave it there because we could go on about this all day.
Yeah.
The Beatles.
Okay.
Now, I'm not massive. Like, I know a lot of their songs. I can tell you what they are because I've heard them. Everyone's heard them.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of them just because they were very manufactured. But when they started getting a bit of creative going, the one thing I do admire about them is they are doing essentially what you just said. You can change the sound. And what they did, they made piano sound like guitars and guitars sound like pianos.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, as years have got on, if you look at electronic music, like you listen to Oxide and Neutrino.
Yeah.
You know,
proper throwing it back now, and yeah.
That's what their drums were. Now you can get, again, Glenn Fricker does it where he compares synth drums or samples compared to, like, generally a lot of the drum kits you hear in modern music. It doesn't sound like a drum kit. It's just a thud and like a clap sound.
A clap and some fills in there.
But what I've noticed, there's a lot more. For me, liking that real sound, there's a lot more samples what someone's actually recorded.
Yeah.
Different velocities.
If you want the live sound with producing, you can get it. You just got to find it.
And I think with the way you can manipulate sound, like if you listen to a Master of Puppets where it's like tsh, 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 that was a terrible crash sound, but I was essentially miming it too. So anyone watching, you know what I'm doing. Anyone listening, you're fucked. So it was a case of now you can almost replicate a drummer without having a drummer. But we'll leave that there because, like I said, we'll go on for ages. But we'll end it with, how can people find you?
Instagram, itsleumas. SoundCloud.
We'll put it all in the description, but yeah.
Itsleumas. Everything's basically itsleumas. Apart from Spotify and Apple Music and all the platforms that are really...
Which is shady Apple.
It's just Leumas on its own.
Okay, so that's where we can find you. Is there anything you'd like to let everyone know? Is there anything coming up for Leumas? Is there anything happening? Anything releasing?
There's a 3-song EP coming for the summer. All going to plan.
Nice.
I say that now. Maybe this will be my motivation to actually get it done.
No pressure.
Yeah. So it's going to be a 3-song EP. And it's just going to be like a whole summer vibe, to be fair. And it's going to be 3 different genres, as I don't like to stick to the same genres.
Yeah.
So 3 separate genres. One's going to be a bit dubsteppy because that's like my love. My love was for electronic music started with dubstep, so I have to stick with it.
Them days.
And then the next one's going to be like, I want to say house, like deep house, and then the third one will be that drum and bass.
Yeah. Okay.
So 3 genres, 1 EP. That's coming this year at some point. It's for the summer, hopefully.
Cool. Well, it's been an awesomely epic pleasure to have you in my garage.
Nice one.
Not shackled this time. But yeah, thank you very much.
Nice one.
I will hopefully do another one again. And look forward to hearing your EP.
Nice
so,
one. Thank you.
Thank you everyone, and we will see you soon. Bye.
My hand wasn't in the...
Awkward.